You are looking live at St. Vincent College in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, and Steelers Training Camp 2025. Good afternoon and welcome to Training Camp Live, brought to you by FedEx. It's day 2 on campus and day 1 on the practice field. Hello again, everyone. I'm Mike Pursuta, joined by Max Starks. We are here for the opening of camp, and Max will be here for the closing of camp, and we'll be here in between. And we'll be breaking it all down for you as detailed and insightful as humanly possible. But before we crank it up for another season, it's my sad duty to acknowledge the passing of our dear friend and colleague, Craig Wolfley. Wolf was an absolute institution for the Pittsburgh Steelers as a player, as a broadcaster, as an ambassador, and as a friend. And Max, I know we're going to miss Wolf every day, especially on game days and game nights, but he would be the first one to tell us 2 things. Keep going and don't be late for dinner.
Never be late for dinner. And I think, it was a somber occasion. I was on air earlier for our radio show, and, it didn't feel right at the beginning to not be welcomed by this gigantic bear hug that you knew could only be manufactured by Wolfley, and the laugh, and just the passion, the love, and the dedication, not only to his Lord and Savior, but to this Pittsburgh Steelers. So he looked forward to this place that forged him as a young man, and of course something that he lived and breathed up until the end. So our hearts are heavy, but like he said, we will keep moving on, and we will keep honoring his legacy and those before us. And, of course, we get to talk about the Steelers, one thing that I know he loved talking about. So I'm really happy to be here under this sad but happy occasion.
I go back to 1987 here at St. Vincent covering the Steelers, and Wolf was a player then, and as was Tunch Ilkin. And those guys, in addition to being the great guys that they were what we in the media refer to as go-to guys, meaning, yes, okay, there's a bad loss, the ship is sinking, it's a very tenuous situation. Who do we go and talk to in that locker room? And invariably we sought out Tunch and Wolf. And you were the exact same type of presence. You weren't a front-running when times are good, I'm talking guy.
Yeah.
You were there to address what needed to be addressed and be a voice conscience for the team. And I think it is only appropriate that in Wolf's absence, you moved from the sideline up to the color analyst chair alongside Rob King on the Steelers Audio Network. My only regret is that on the pregame shows, I will no longer be able to give you crap about the bad weather. You're going to have to stand in for 3 hours.
Yes, I know. I get that out of there, so we'll just have to make do some other way. I'm sure you'll find something before the beginning of the season. But you're right. I mean, it's a blessing. I'm so thankful, and to everybody that's reached out, thank you so much for the well wishes. They are large shoes to fill, and I do have big feet, so we'll see if I can step into that position and kind of honor the guys who paved the way for me.
Well, I hope Steelers fans appreciate it, and I'm guessing they do. But
Yeah.
they are lucky to have this kind of succession of color analyst voices in Tunch, Wolf, and now Max Starks. So you guys all have a love for the game that's obvious, an understanding of the game that's apparent, and an ability to have fun expressing both. And that, to me, that's the gig. That's the job.
Well, thank you so much. It means a lot. And like I said, I had 2 great mentors to learn from, not only as a young man, but then as a grown man. And maturing through this business, I mean, there's no 2 better guys you could look to. I mean, Tunch,
You're acknowledging you're no longer a young man.
Yeah, I'm now admitting it as there's some gray on the side of the beard here. But I told this quick story. I told Tunch the first day I came onto the Steelers campus, and we had our OTA, like practice day, and it was a Wednesday where you split off and you could go do boxing, yoga, or something else. And Wolf was the one that was doing the boxing class, and Tunch came in with him. And I remember running up to him like, "You're the guy on my VHS." And he was like, "What?" He's like, "What? Tunch's Punches, that's you." And I was like, "I've known you for 4 years already." And so I mean, to see those guys and get to know them and really be welcomed by them and just learn a whole lot about life, offensive line play, and broadcasting, it's been a blessing.
It's a blessing to be here, and there is a lot to talk about.
Oh, there is.
Things have changed a little since last we sat down at a studio or a makeshift studio such as this.
Just a little bit.
Let's just start with, as Mike Tomlin likes to say, a view from 30,000 feet. What got your attention the most based on where we were and where they are?
I would say impact is the word that I'm going to use as this overlay, because it started right at the beginning of free agency, right? You trade for DK Metcalf, and then it didn't slow down there. It wasn't like, we're going to make one splash. We made a lot of splashes throughout the entirety up to this moment of training camp, with free agents, with acquisitions, with re-signings, and, of course, with the draft. So it has been – impact has been kind of my theme that I've been thinking about, what describes the offseason and leading to here on the field. And we got some dynamic names that we're going to have all eyes on throughout training camp and, of course, throughout the season.
The obvious one, Aaron Rodgers. Let's start there as we get into specifics. Art Rooney II, the team president, talked about this situation early in the year. It might have been the combine or after his season wrap-up.
Yeah.
But fairly early in this process, he was giving pretty strong hints that they felt good about the Aaron Rodgers situation, ultimately resolving the way they wanted it to. And then Mike Tomlin said yesterday he was comfortable way earlier than anybody else. But, boy, that certainly was an explosive topic of conversation for a long time. And a lot of people about half losing their minds, not just fans, media. Oh, my God, what's going on? How could they let this happen? Why are they doing this? It all worked out. As I like to tell people, don't worry about something that didn't happen yet. If he wouldn't have signed, then maybe you have a different narrative. But he is here. He's 41. He's going to be 42. But the guy I saw for 3 days in mandatory veteran minicamp can, as many people told me then, still spin it.
Oh, he can spin the rock. And you're exactly right. I think – I was down at the owners' meetings, and I interviewed Mike Tomlin. That's where we had and he said the one thing, constant communication with Aaron Rodgers throughout. On most visits, you get one guy, and you might talk to him on a visit, and then you may or may not talk to them. But he said him and Aaron were in constant communication with each other. And then, of course, Art Rooney comes down to owners' meetings, and he has his sidebar session. And he also says, we're willing to wait.
Yes.
So once those two said it, I don't care what anybody else says, right? If they're patient, I must be patient too, because, listen, a football wasn't rolling out in March, April, or May for this team. You needed to know June, and I even gave it I said, give me to the middle to the end of June, then I'd start worrying. But he was there right on time, and he's here taking snaps right now. As we see on the screen, he is under center, taking some snaps, things. So there's no harm, no foul, but it was something that lingered, and I think a lot of people just don't like the lingering, because the Steelers are usually a more buttoned-up organization when it comes to storylines.
And, I often wonder, too, sometimes there's a lot of shows out there now on a lot of different networks and a lot of different streaming services and a lot of different venues, and everybody needs content. And
yes.
That was some low-hanging fruit. What's going on? What are they doing? All's well that ends well. I thought all along, and I didn't have any inside information on this, but I thought all along he's going to skip OTAs and come in for mandatory veteran minicamp, because mandatory veteran minicamp is mandatory.
Yeah.
OTAs are optional, except you don't have that option if you haven't signed yet.
Yeah, exactly. You're still in the free and clear.
Maybe it was coincidental that it just worked out that way. I know Aaron said he had some off-the-field concerns that,
some family issues
that he wanted to deal with. But I thought during the 3 days he was on the south side, the things that impressed me, in addition to his ability to still throw the football, was the energy that he displayed on the practice fourth team reps and doing no 11-on-11 just to kind of ease into it. But interacting with everybody, engaging with everybody, looked like he was full speed ahead once he finally got here.
And now you see him right now talking with Zach Frazier and getting a feel. And that's one of the things that you get with a veteran quarterback, right? That's the field general that you went after, sought after, and eventually got, was that he has to have open communication. And I love this, especially at the beginning of camp, right? Most people come in and heads above water, they're swimming, they're trying to remember the playbook. But you see a guy like Aaron Rodgers, he's seen everything that could possibly be shown on a football field. He's experienced every single situation. Now he gets to dive right in and focus on the nuance. Like, hey, when we see this, I know your tendency is going to be to go this way, but, hey, maybe do this or maybe do that, and get a feel, because they have to have an intimate relationship. The CQ exchange starts everything on offense, and so you want that down and intact and as buttoned up as possible.
You know, we kind of saw a similar scenario play out last year with Russell Wilson. They brought in a veteran guy, a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is older than Wilson. He is a one-time Super Bowl winner as Wilson was. But, Max, there's a presence with Aaron Rodgers, and maybe it's because of the 4 MVPs. I don't know.
A lot of championship experience.
You know,
as
this
far as
guy's
going
on the
up to
field
game.
like he's omnipresent. There's just there's a vibe. I mentioned to you my first training camp was 1987. I've covered pro football for a long time, and I respect you guys for what you do and how you do it, but I'm not necessarily impressed, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're just people that I work with, and when I was down on the practice field on the south side, I was standing there, and he was about 15, 20 feet away, and I thought, that's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, but you look at the mystique, right? And when you play for storied franchises like the Green Bay Packers, and he was falling in line right behind a Brett Favre, he didn't immediately get thrust into the limelight like a lot of rookie quarterbacks have gone over the last decade or so, where it's like, if we draft you, you're playing right now. It was a slow simmer for him, and then when he came on, he picked up right where Brett Favre left off. And like you said, bringing a Super Bowl there, that came as a cachet. And then the 4 MVPs, I mean, he's thrown a lot of footballs in a lot of crazy situations. You know, we talked about it earlier about it doesn't matter. He's done it all, timed, untimed, everything involved. He's been a part of it. So like I said, he's no newcomer to this type of situation. So looking forward to seeing what he can bring to this team this year.
You know, we mentioned everybody talked about how well he can spin it. What we saw in the mandatory veteran minicamp, Max, was the ability to roll to his left, the ability to roll to his right. I was even blown away. Some of those drills they do very early in practice where Pat Freiermuth would be standing at the sideline about 30 yards away, and Rodgers would just roll out and fire the ball, and Pat was hardly having to move to make the catches. The accuracy is there, and we're pretty sure the understanding of the game is there, as you mentioned. There's not too much he hasn't seen. And as luck would have it, one of the guys responsible for bringing Aaron Rodgers to the Pittsburgh Steelers is joining our show. And that would be General Manager Omar Khan. As soon as we get Omar's seat situated here, we can commence with welcome to St. Vincent. Thanks for popping over.
Great to be here. Great to see you guys. How are you?
Doing pretty well, Omar. You talked again yesterday about how much you appreciate coming here, the relationship between the Steelers and St. Vincent College. What is it that makes that such a great fit?
It's the fans. You know, I love seeing the fans here and the energy they give us, and they help us prepare for the season. And I've been coming here since 2001. And it's been special, and the ability to grow as a team. And Max, you lived it here for a bunch of years, and just to come together, and just grow as a team. It's pretty special. It's a little odd not seeing our man Wolfley here this year. It's a tough loss, and we miss him, and hopefully we're gonna make him proud this year. But yeah, it's a special place.
No, it is, and we kind of were talking about it before you came here, but patience paid off in the signing of Aaron Rodgers. Was your patience as an organization ever tested during that process, or was there just a calm confidence throughout the entire process?
Yeah, I don't know, patience is the right word, but, Max, we usually stay pretty calm through these things, and sometimes let the stuff come to us. And with Aaron, we had some really good conversations, and through the process felt good about the possibility of landing him. We about him being our quarterback, and he was interested in coming, and it all came together, and excited to see what's to come.
Omar, beyond the resume, which is Hall of Fame caliber, what convinced you guys he could/should be the guy for your quarterback? Was it a conversation with him, a specific game tape? Did you get some advice or input from trusted sources in the game? How do you decide when a guy's the guy at quarterback?
Sure. It's all part of the evaluation process, and we really got into it once the season ended. We ended last year. We knew we had some quarterbacks that were in their last year of their deal, and we went through the evaluation process, and several of the things you just mentioned were part of it, and it just felt like he was the right guy for us. And our like you asked previously, our patience paid off. But so
yeah, absolutely. And I think when we think about this, like Super Bowl is the ultimate goal, right? That is the end road. Everything ends there. But as you were going through like were there any like goals set by yourself? And I know you're always setting goals, but to the extent that when you were reconstructing this roster in the off season, was it bigger, tougher? What were some of the things that you were kind of thinking about when you were going through this process?
Yeah, Max, I'm not sure I'd classify it as we were reconstructing, but at the end of last season, we were all disappointed, and we set a vision. Art Rooney and Mike Tomlin, we got together, and we laid out a vision of what we wanted this team to look like this year, and you just go through the process, and I'd like to tell you that things go 100% as planned or that you would like, but that's not realistic, and it doesn't go that way. And,
this wasn't exactly how you drew it up.
You didn't say you didn't think
you
about
want me
all
to say
of
yes. You want me to say yes, don't you?
Be a better story.
Yeah. It's just how it goes. It's how it goes. So
the vision to see this all unfold.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Specifically, I know that you guys are, as Max said, Super Bowl motivated, but is there something you want to see here specifically as you get started? Will third down defense, will it be more physical, or red zone, or a player or a position group? Excuse me. Is there something you're kind of interested in more than the rest starting out?
And it's not unique just to this year, but it's always the growth. What we see today, day one, and where guys are at the end of the preseason, and so that's really that. It's fun to watch the growth and the progression of especially the young guys.
All right, I got to ask Omar. Going through this process, I know we talked about things didn't go 100% the way you wanted it to, but you have a vision. But what, to the extent of excitement, what's the most exciting thing that you're excited about when you constructed this 2025 roster that's here now at training camp?
It's a great question, Max. Our goal is to win a Super Bowl, Max. So, every decision that we make, it's unique to itself, but it's part of a bigger vision. But just the process and the people we do it with is really special, and just looking forward to see how these guys grow here.
As are we, Omar. We appreciate you taking a few minutes than it is down there, but
it's
not
humid
much.
out here, but it's great.
Yeah,
Football.
not much.
It's football time.
You're
Yes,
getting
it
the
is.
weather you wanted.
Yeah.
Omar Khan, general manager of the Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the guys who was responsible for what we're seeing on the field. And as we pan back down to the field, we spent a little time focusing on the quarterbacks before Omar's visit, and there we see them one more time. And Max, Mason Rudolph is also a part of this mix again, and it's hard not to perceive Mason Rudolph differently. I know he spent 1 year in Tennessee and had some mixed results there, but he's gone, in my eyes at least, from a guy who got thrown in a couple of seasons ago, basically, and the team was in desperation mode, and got him to the playoffs, and then he left, and now he's back. And I think there's some legitimate confidence this time regarding what you could expect if Mason Rudolph ends up under center for whatever reason.
Well, I think the biggest thing is been there, done that, right? I think that's the biggest thing that we look at, Mike, is, okay, Mason was just in the system, and he did what he could, and he had opportunities like thrown in when Ben caught COVID, right, and had to go to that Detroit game in the rain, and he still slung it 50 times when we thought it was going to be a run game, type of deal, to going in when Kenny gets injured and having to step in after Mitch went down and really hold everything together and then get this team to a playoff game in Buffalo. So now he comes back, he has that on his resume. Even though it was built here, he has that on his resume. And, yes, things didn't go, as he wanted. The grass wasn't that green in Tennessee. But now he's back here, and now we know what to expect of him. And I think he knows what to expect of himself as a guy that's here to shepherd, whether it's Will Howard and Skylar Thompson, or be there in case anything with Aaron Rodgers. And he's also a second set of eyes that can be trusted on the sideline. So there's a lot more assumed of him this second time around in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and you referenced Will Howard. You see him wiping his brow with the number 18 jersey there. Interesting guy, particularly at this time of the year, because if I'm reading the defense correctly, he's going to see a lot of playing time in the preseason.
Yes.
I don't know if Aaron Rodgers will play much, if at all. I know he did, I think it was 2 series in 2023, the year he first joined the Jets. and then none last year, none the year before, his last year with the Packers. Mason Rudolph established himself as Mr. August for a couple of years here.
Yes, he
It's one of the
did,
reasons why he hung around so long was because
Exactly.
he continued to perform in the preseason. But in addition to the mentoring that you referenced that's going to go on with Will Howard, he's going to get thrown in the water, and it won't necessarily be the deep water, but it'll be water he hasn't been in previously.
No, he hasn't been in this type of water. I think, to your point, I think if we do see Aaron with the first team, it'll be no more than 2 series. And I think if the first unit's out there, I think you expect to see Mason as the first guy kind of warming them up, and then you'll see Will Howard ease in, and he'll get the lion's share as we get in like second halves of games and maybe at the end of the season. But I think the way it shakes out is that Mason knows, hey, I got to write the preseason ship, and I'm there to be an addition to Aaron and kind of be the faux Aaron, so to speak. And then Will is there to be the young guy to get evaluated and see what he can do and kind of put him in situations and see how long he can last as well. Because I think the other thing that's important is Will Howard's also played a lot of football. Let's not forget, this kid went all the way through to the national championship and won it. So he's seen what an NFL schedule looks like in college with the new CFP.
Pretty close, yeah.
So he's no stranger to the length of it and, of course, the talent getting better as you go through the process.
Yeah, I'm assuming it gets better. That Ohio State team was pretty loaded.
It was. Now, this roster is pretty loaded now, too, here. So it's not like he's coming to a bare cupboard. He didn't go up there like a top 10 draft pick and get a team that he's got to wear his way through. This has some pretty good proven talent.
And it's a 6th-round pick, so obviously you don't draft guys in the 6th round to be your franchise quarterback, but you can see he's got the physical skill set in the run to the national championship. And he wasn't the only member of the Ohio State University's football team to do that, but I can really appreciate personally that devastating loss that Ohio State suffered to Michigan.
Yes. How happy you were?
How
Where's the ring at? Where's the ring? Just say sorry.
How apocalyptic that was for them, and they were able to shake it off and realize that there was still football to be played and bigger fish to fry, and they did it. And that
came together. I don't think
sounds like
the ball hit the ground when he was throwing it in the playoffs.
It sounds like it would be easy to do for anybody with enough sense to realize the playoffs matter more than the regular season.
Yeah.
But you got to understand that Michigan-Ohio State rivalry. And the Steelers acknowledged one of the reasons they liked Will Howard and Jack Sawyer, the edge rusher they drafted from Columbus, was because of their mental toughness in shaking that off and helping to lead the team to the ultimate prize, if not the one that maybe they wanted more, which was a win over Michigan.
Yeah, it was that win over Michigan means a whole bringing home a CFP trophy will cure all those ills, and you'll say Michigan who. And I think you're right, because also seeing teams multiple times, right? Because you have to remember they lost to Oregon earlier in the year. What happens in division play? You see a team at the beginning of the year, but then you got to face them again at the end of the year. So that goes in the mental toughness.
Sometimes
and how
the
you
result
look at
changes.
It does, and it did for them. I mean, I don't even
They're
know
not the only ones.
I'm still looking for Oregon in the Rose Bowl. I think they left somewhere outside the stadium before walking in. But it is a testament to them and to what they bring and that resolve, and also that experience. You can't manufacture that, so they've got that in their belt. Although it's at a different stage, and the chips are a lot bigger up here at this level, in the professional level. But the fact that they've gone through it gives you a hint into their psyche.
Got to look at Sawyer a minute ago in his number 33 jersey. There you see the number 1 pick, Derek Harmon. And, Max, the question you asked of Omar Khan, what was the point this beyond just trying to build a Super Bowl roster? What were they looking to?
Yeah.
Physicality up front. Right?
I mean,
they have not been shy
in the
about
room,
yeah.
And I know he didn't want to say it, but I was like, but your draft status said it. I mean, you went and got humongous humans, 6'4", 324, and then you go back and you get 6'5", 343 to be D tackles. Those are human skyscrapers, like walking around the middle of your defense, and they're space eaters. So yes, you wanted to get bigger, you wanted to get tougher and more physical, And that's why you went and you got a kid from Iowa, right? I mean, that's the definition of slugging it out, right?
Would you
Every
say
year.
this inflection of talent from the Big Ten Conference is long overdue and welcome?
I wouldn't say long overdue. Thank God they finally stepped up to their expectations. But at the same time, it is good that they went and found the talent there.
SEC's kind of abdicated that top dog
We have
role
not abdicated, but
handed it up to.
Listen, we share out. It's like a helpline. You know, we're going to share out a little bit of the resources because we know you can't starve, right, at the same time. But no, but I digress. I think, but it was important to go find a guy like a Derek Harmon. And I think that was one of the top three that I think we ID'd kind of in the process, going through Combine and going through the owners' meetings and kind of talking about what this team was looking for, what was missing at the end of the year. And I'll tell you what, it was a Derrick Henry killer. And then you need to have something for Cincinnati and their aerial assault. So I think those were the things. You saw a lot of defensive emphasis this offseason in a lot of the acquisition, on top of the stuff that needed to be done offensively. But the big emphasis this offseason, when you look at the new guys on this roster, the impact potentially is going to be the defensive side of the ball.
And the way they could move those big guys. We spoke. Some of us spoke with Keanu Benton during the lunchtime media access today, and he said he didn't do as well as he wanted to last year, but he's still one of those guys, big guy that can really glide through drills and is so athletic for a guy that size. How to what degree has that aspect of the game changed since when you played? Because you don't see a lot of Casey Hamptons out there anymore.
No.
You see a lot of guys who are 300 and they look slim.
Yes, that very athletic. I think, the old school phrase, svelte, right? There are a lot more svelte out there. And like you said, just the whole cloggers was what you have with a Casey Hampton, a Jamal Williams, right? A Teddy Washington, a Sean Rogers back in the day. Those were the guys you looked for because you're funneling everything. Now, everything's predicated on the D-line. I think when you think of the advent of like an Aaron Donald and what they could do, and even for Warren Sapp, his era, you want those versatile three techniques that can knife through a defense, cause havoc in the backfield, and just mess things up for an offense. Like just create a wedge between the modus operandi, right? And I think that's what they looked at when you look at Black, when you look at Harmon. Both of them are very disruptive, very big dudes, but they also can contain space and move along the line of scrimmage and not stay in one spot.
If people are going to come out here to training camp, they might want to seek out the portion of individual drills where they line up the huge tackling dummies and these big guys glide through them and they're doing rip moves and swims. And the change of direction and the burst, it jumps off the field at you.
Yeah, I mean, and it's all about that.
I wouldn't want to have to block it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It's the hip fluidity, as the scouts like to call it, right?
Hip fluidity.
Because you have to be able to move one way, then move back the other way, and still keep your balance.
Don't you think?
Yeah, it would be hip fluidity. Yeah. I mean, I go see there for Dollar Beer Night. I go there and hang out, listen to a couple of tunes. I definitely need a good drummer though. I need a big overweight drummer that has really light feet. Double bass drum action. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, the draft was about resupplying the front seven. Jack Sawyer, Harmon, Y.A. Black. The secondary has been addressed via free agency and the trade market. And all of a sudden now you have not only Joey Porter Jr. at cornerback, but Darius Slay and now Jalen Ramsey. And Mike Tomlin spent some time yesterday as we give a listen to Coach meeting the media yesterday on the first day of training camp. He talked a lot about the possibilities of having three corners as good as the ones the Steelers have now.
This is a coverage league. You need unbelievable depth and talent at the cornerback position because people have it in their receiver cores. We use a variety of schematics in the effort to minimize passing offenses. But you got to be able to play matchup football. You got to be able to play man-to-man, particularly versus the elite and deep groups. And the talent that we've acquired at that position, particularly the cornerback position, allows us to do that in all circumstances. When you got guys like Jalen Ramsey and Slay and JPJ, man, we can match up and play man-to-man versus anyone. And so that's what's exciting to us, our ability to play man-to-man against anyone in this game. And I think it's going to do nothing but strengthen our schematics, the supplemental things, the zone pressures, the bogus pressures, and things of that nature. And so really excited about the talent that we acquired, particularly at the cornerback position. And you can add Brandon Echols to that discussion as well. we've done an awesome job with fortifying that corner position from a talent and depth standpoint that's going to allow us to match up against some of the many explosive units and players within them that we compete against.
We've done an awesome job. We can play man-to-man against anyone.
Yeah.
This is not the typical Mike Tomlin hyperbole or coach speak. He's making a statement.
Yeah, well, I think the rest of the division dictates that, right? I mean, you look
at
you think about what Cincinnati did, right? When you go and you not only signed T. Higgins, you not only signed Jamar Chase to that wealthy contract, you also go and you figure out a way to get T. Higgins in there as well. And you have to say, okay, I need somebody that can stop those two, plus whatever else Joe Burrow's thinking about. You look at what Baltimore's doing. They brought in a DeAndre Hopkins to already add to their receiving core to make sure they had more versatility. So you need 3 DBs that are very good and can lock down at any point, because you can't run zone pressure against these guys. Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. You can't do that against. And then when you think of the class of the rest of the league, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, you have to be a Matt Stafford's of the world. You have to be able to create a lot of those bogus pressures and let your actual pass rush work. And the secondary will be even better when both of those things marry together. So to address that need, I thought was a huge thing. And like you said, to go get not only just bodies, you wouldn't got talent to supplement what you already had.
You know, when I heard that they had made the trade, I was actually out on the golf course when it went down. And the first kind of instinctual thing some people thought of, and I understand how they got there, was, okay, well, Minkah Fitzpatrick's gone. Ramsey can play corner or safety. They already have Slay to go with Porter, so Ramsey's going to be the new free safety. But then I went home after my 103, and I watched the Jets-Dolphins regular season finale from this past season. And Jalen Ramsey in that game followed Garrett Wilson all over the field. Not every down, but the vast majority of them. Wide left, wide right, in the slot, wherever. And Wilson didn't have a very good day, and Aaron Rodgers recognized it, and Rodgers ended up having a pretty good day because he went elsewhere. But it reminded me that Jalen Ramsey is a shutdown press man corner.
Yes.
And, more please, right? You got at least 2 of those now. I mean, Slay's a good player. I don't know if he's a press man guy as much as a move guy. They got some options all of a sudden at cornerback.
Well, I think it's to match what this league is. You know, you want to go in with as many options available, right? For a D or an offensive coordinator, give me as many different possible permutations that I can create as possible. And like you said, to add man guys in there with very good zone cover guys, and now you can deploy at your will how you want to dictate to an opposing offense. And I think with the amount of different type of ways that teams like to play, you need that variety in the shelf, right? It's just like a cook. Like, I want to know that I have a lot of herbs and spices to pick from so I don't have to make the same dish over and over again. Sometimes I need paprika, sometimes I need cayenne pepper. They're both red, but they have a different flavor profile, and that's what you need from week to week going into these games. You need a full palette to be able to deploy depending on what that team's going to throw at you.
You know, I also noticed in that Jets-Dolphins game, you're probably familiar with this play. Some of the people watching may or may not be, but it amounted pretty much to a Jets blooper, and it made some it got some traction on social media. Oh, look what the Jets came up with now. Rodgers tried a sideways pass to Davante Adams, and then Adams threw a backwards pass back to Rodgers. And I'm assuming the play was supposed to go downfield for a deep shot. Well, it wasn't there. Rodgers didn't throw it, so he ended up dumping it down back to Davante Adams, was probably the most surprised guy in the world to get the ball back. And Davante Adams got blown up by a defensive back that was charging like a freight train. Guess who that guy was?
Who was it? Jalen Ramsey.
Jalen Ramsey. No, I mean, this guy hits. He can blitz off the slot if you want him to. He can tackle in the run game.
Yeah, he's willing and he's skilled. I mean, that's why he was number 66 on the top 100, right? There's no accident that he's in the elite class of players, because he's done it and he's covered some of the best in this game since he's been in it. And like you said,
Garrett Wilson just got paid.
Yeah, Garrett Wilson just got paid, and you know, they didn't back down, and Jalen Ramsey hasn't backed down from a fight or a challenge throughout this whole process. I think having him, think about this is also helping shepherd Joey Porter Jr., right? You know, having another person he can bounce things off of between Slay and Ramsey helps grow his game that much more. When you have that challenge and that kind of built-in camaraderie yet competitiveness as a unit, that makes everybody better.
So how does this end up playing out, Max? Mike Tomlin he would only go as far as to say they're all three going to play every down.
Yeah.
Who's where?
I think it matters on who the personnel is, because I think now with having three, you get to play the hot hand.
You're talking about the opponent.
I'm talking about the opponent
personnel.
Yeah.
So in other words, if it's T. Higgins and Chase, maybe it's the two press man
guys that are going to be
kickers.
up front, and then you say, hey, if we identify a third guy in that, okay, now we deploy the third there, whether it's Slay in the slot or Ramsey on the edge or vice versa, or whether this game we want to move him more into a safety position and bring Beanie Bishop in to play the nickel. Like, you have an opportunity to really play with a lot of those different things, and you have veterans who know defenses. It's not he can only play right side, like a Richard Sherman. I can only play the right side of the field, and that's it. No, these guys travel. They've worked in zone, they work in man, and they have a deep knowledge of that. So now you could really play with what you're showing the offense and really mess them up. And you hope that dynamic pass rush of the big bodies and the skilled bodies can get to a quarterback before he can make a decision.
Yeah, it's kind of exciting when you get guys of this quality and these capabilities. Obviously, the Bengals thing jumps out at you because they have two great receivers, but I recall that Kansas City game, too, last year when the Steelers were threatening to make a game of it, and the Chiefs just kind of threw it sideways to the off coverage about 9 times in a row and went down and scored another touchdown that reestablished two-score control. I mean, if these teams know the Steelers can rush the passer, they're not just going to let them do it. If they can't block it, the ball's going to come out. So maybe the way to stop this stuff is to stop the receivers from getting off the line of scrimmage and make the quarterback hold it for 3 seconds instead of a second and a half.
Yeah, it's taking I mean, when you have press man coverage, the idea is the now route. The now route is ball snap, ball goes out into the slot immediately or out to the outside receiver who's playing off coverage. Now if you got two guys playing press and then you got a really heady physical nickel that's in there, you can't throw on the line of scrimmage, and then now I got to worry about T.J. Watt. I got to worry about Alex Highsmith or Nick Herbig, and we'll see how Jack Sawyer comes into this mix. It's like, oh, man, so now you get happy feet. And who's to say that you don't step up in the pocket, and guess what? Cam Hayward's right there. Keanu Benton's right there. Harmon's there. Black is there. There's so many different things that you now have to worry about on the line that you can't throw to the off guy who has a 5-yard cushion.
And we know that Jalen Ramsey's versatile. Mike Tomlin mentioned yesterday, he said as best he could recall, the Steelers had Ramsey number 1 at corner and number 1 at safety his draft year on their board.
Yeah.
Joey Porter Jr. is an outside corner. Darius Slay has been mostly that in his career, although savvy, and he's also got a history with Terrell Austin, the defensive coordinator, who should know better than most based on their relationship dating back to their days together in Detroit, what Slay might be able to do differently. This does have the potential to kind of tweak from week to week, doesn't it?
It does. It has a big opportunity. I think, as we talk about kind of the offense versatility, this is the defensive versatility, because teams are going to try and play you in a way to put you in a position of weakness. But if there's no cracks in the line, then you got to play them straight up, and I think that's what they're hoping for. Just play me straight up, as opposed to kind of scheming us out of a way of an advantage. And then now we get to dictate kind of what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do.
Another guy who may factor in somehow, and again, remember Mike Tomlin said yesterday, he was asked about Jalen Ramsey, he said, I don't necessarily look at him as Minka's replacement. Somebody's got to be Minka Fitzpatrick's replacement. Thornhill, he's one of, I think it's 10 players with Super Bowl rings.
Yeah.
None of them here.
Yeah, no.
What kind of impact, if any, does that have in a locker room on a roster?
I think it brings credibility and pedigree to the situation, and I think that, just like we see with Aaron Rodgers, right? He comes in here and he has a Super Bowl ring, he has the MVPs, he has the accolades. So when you see that, this guy's seen what the secret sauce looks like all the way to the end, to the finish line. So when he says something, you're probably going to take note and think about it, because this guy's seen it. So if there's something he doesn't like, you'd be like, well, why do you say it? Well, back when I won a Super Bowl ring, right? You have that type of experience that you can lean on, and you can share that information with the rest of the group. So I think it's a very valuable thing. And he plays that 10,000-foot view, so to speak, because he has to see everything.
We've talked a lot about the defense. We haven't gotten to linebacker yet, inside linebacker, I should say. And, a little bit of a developing situation there. Landon Roberts is no longer on the team, and Peyton Wilson is certainly perceived as a guy who is capable of being a three-down player. They loved him when they drafted him. But now you have a healthier, if not completely healthy, Cole Holcomb, who was playing great football for this team before he got hurt.
He was excellent.
As a three-down inside backer.
Yeah. So I think it's a problem you like to have in that type of situation. And, Elandon's moved on, and, he was the hammer, right? He was 23andMe, as Craig Wolfley loved to affectionately call him, because he was going to leave DNA on you because he hit so hard. And now you're going to go to the more skilled, faster guys when you pair with the Patrick Queen, who's a runner, Cole Holcomb as well, and then Peyton Wilson is a guy who's sideline to sideline. And it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. Mark Robinson's still a guy who's still been here, and just paving his way and just taking time and has developed incrementally year over year since he's been here, as he's made the transition from running back to linebackers last year of college, and he's been solely linebacker for us. Carson Bruner's another one that I'm really excited about seeing. Obviously, we know that name. Bruner sounds very familiar to a lot of us. Yes, the son of Mark Bruner. He's on this roster, and he's also in that linebacking room, a guy who has a lot of experience coming from Washington. So it's going to be really interesting to see how all of those names begin, and plus we have Malik Harrison. So, there's a lot of good talent, I think great competition that's going to come out of this inside linebacking group.
Yeah, the depth there and a corner really jumps off the sheet.
It does. It does.
Corey Trice, it's funny, T.J. Watt mentioned him yesterday. What are you looking forward to? What do you want to see? And Watt said words to the effect, I'm going to paraphrase him here, but, hey, this is not a household name, but this kid's got some potential. If he could just stay healthy, he can play in this league.
That Denver game before he got injured, he was all over the place, and you're talking about a tall, prototypical type of corner, just like Joey Porter Jr., and it was amazing. When they were both working, it was like, oh, my God, this could be the future. Look at these two tall towers to go out there and defend against these taller receivers in the league, and they can run. But like you said,
there he is, number 27 there at the bottom of your screen. Running with the ball
he just walked off, doing the pump faking. But he's that big of a dude, and he stands out. Wolf called him an alien on the field. That's what he looked like, because he's prototypical. The long dreads, tall, lean, and can run, and he has a great catch radius as well.
Mike Tomlin referenced Trice and Joey Porter Jr. as my avatar corners.
Yes, absolutely.
Not of this world, right?
Yes, exactly.
So there's a lot of depth, and the year they got Cole Holcomb, they thought they had depth. And by the end of the year, they're calling guys off the couch to come in and start.
Yeah, exactly. Just give me 30 plays. Do you have 30 plays in you? We're looking for 30 plays. And now we're talking about a position of strength where you really get to kind of pick and choose how you want. As long as everybody stays healthy, this is going to be really fun to watch on the defensive side of the ball.
This is kind of off point, but I never understood that cliche, pick and choose. They're kind of the same thing.
They are.
I choose you.
Exactly. But
why am I picking and choosing? It's redundant.
It is redundant, but life is full of redundancies. If I order one chicken parmesan, guess what? I want two, really. So I'm picking and choosing and hoping that they'll give me both.
Of course, the guy we haven't talked about much yet, but a guy who made some headlines before the arrival of camp, T.J. Watt, who they backed up the Brinks truck to keep T.J. Watt a one-helmet Hall of Fame guy. T.J. Watt spent a little time talking with the media yesterday and actually had some fun with it.
It's hard to fathom. I'm just being as blunt as I can about it. It truly is. It's a insane life that I live. I get to do what I love for a living. I'm living the absolute dream. I don't take that for granted one bit at all. The money side of it is hard to get my head around it, and I'm sure one day I will, but right now it's still all crazy to me. But more than anything, I wanted to play football. I want to play football. I want to continue to give everything that I possibly can to this city, to this organization. There's so much more, as Coach T would say, meat on the bone. There's so much more that I can give, that I want to give, and that's what's most important to me.
Max, TJ's been a guy over the years. He came in not unlike David DeCastro as a number one pick, but he wanted to do something before he started talking a lot. And he was sort of a background guy in the media. And since then, as he has evolved, Sometimes he has some things to say. Sometimes they're very blunt. Sometimes they're very to the point. He's not usually a guy who jokes around a lot with the media. He does the part of that job that he's required to do. But I sensed a different guy yesterday. I don't know. Maybe it's the Brinks truck backing up. But maybe it's a guy who now feels like, you know what, Cam Hayward might need a little help being the face of the defense, if not the franchise, and the voice or one of the voices of the team. I mean, he was joking around. A couple of the reporters were trying to outshout each other to get a question in. He got a kick out of that. He was turning recorders on and off. But he was having fun yesterday. I don't think he's had a lot of fun dealing with the media. Not that he's uncooperative or bad at it, but it was a different guy yesterday.
And I think that comes with maturity, right? When, you come in as a young guy and you already have that voice, and that voice has been ever present throughout your career, and I'm talking about a Cam Hayward. It's like if Cam's already said it, why do I need to say it? And I know we kind of go through that. I mean, for me as a young guy, right? Like if Alan Faneca said something, why do I need to go say something to the media? But there also comes a point where you assume that leadership role, where you assume that type of positioning. And let's face it, when you become the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history, that says, hey, you are the face, and you are going to be the face throughout this contract. So I think, a certain maturity and a certain assumption has to now be made, and he's not running away from it. So I think being a little more coy, a little more fun, and trying to understand that this is an obligation, but like he said, I'm living a dream. I'm getting to do what I want, and I want to give whatever I can to this city. I think now we need a little more FaceTime, with you, TJ, and being able to express yourself and also express it since you are a captain of this team.
He talked about the never-ending pursuit of the Super Bowl, and, he's as aware as anyone that they haven't won a playoff game in 8 years, but he is still all in toward pursuing that. But how they get there, if they get there, might be a little bit different. TJ talked some about maybe experimenting with moving around the formation in this training camp, and it's a good opportunity to do that. And we saw a little of that last year, Max, and I thought it was fairly effective, particularly in the Giants game, and they kind of got away from it. Is that the next step for TJ Watt, to have him play more as Myles Garrett plays and be able to pick and choose where he wants to and who he wants to go against?
I think it is. And I think now when you have the biggest thing is like depth. And early on we had the depth. That's why you saw what I call a 3 outside linebacker look, where you had Alex, TJ, Cam, and then you had Nick Herbig in there, and you were able to kind of go into a smaller quote-unquote lineup and really shuffle the deck a lot more. But in this situation, I feel like it's been more of a situation where if you have the depth on the interior, now he can switch sides or he can go overload, and you don't have to worry about playing this position where it's lighter guys in there. You've got bigger bodies in the middle. And now with Keanu Benton kind of being freed up from the nose essentially position, he can now play 3. He can now give Cam Hayward a spell and change lineups up because you have a Harmon and a Black who are right there in the middle. And then we'll see also what DeMarvin Leal can bring to that, because he was another guy that was in that early until injury that was playing that kind of elephant end when they went that pseudo 4-down look as well. So now you got more pieces and you can move TJ a lot more easily.
That's what it's going to look like more often than not, right?
Yeah, it is. I think that's what it's going to.
Nickel.
Yeah, because everybody plays 11. You can't run a traditional 3-4 anymore. Yeah. So there's no traditional nose, 2 down D ends, and then 2 outside backers. That now becomes what we call a double eagle. If you're going to get it, it's now going to be a lot different. But most teams operate in a nickel or 11 structure, so you need a nickel 4 down that can supplement that.
Yeah, I can almost see this evolving into something similar to what the Buffalo Bills do. They're in nickel all the time.
Yes, that's their base personnel grouping now. Yeah, they don't even have a base. Everything is sub as base.
And they're usually pretty good at it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it shows. They've been in the playoffs a lot, and they've had success.
So, I saved the best for last. At least that's the way you might perceive it.
Always.
The offensive line.
Bring it. Yes.
People say it's a concern, a question. It's unproven. Those things maybe are all true, but I kind of like the guys they're going to try to cobble together a 5-man unit with. Let's start on the left side. Broderick Jones. I don't think he played poorly at right tackle as a rookie. I didn't see as much from him as I necessarily wanted to last year on the right side. But in a position where last year at this time Omar Khan said, well, we drafted him to be a left tackle. We just don't know when that's going to be. Now is the time. Is he ready for it?
I think he is. I think Broderick did the biggest service to himself this offseason by staying here in Pittsburgh and making sure that he was preparing his body properly to take that mantle, to be the left tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers when Dan Moore left and he found his own mini Brinks truck down in Nashville. So I think this is what he's been building towards. This is his natural position. So now he has to go out and claim it. I think the biggest thing was it was kind of like, hey, this is great in addition to you're going to be over here somewhat, and we'll test you, but we need you at right tackle right now. So I think he goes to a natural fit position, and he's now maturing and understanding what he needs to do to get ready with 2 seasons under his belt and understanding what it takes to be an NFL offensive lineman, not just a left tackle playing in the NFL. So I'm really excited about what Broderick can bring. The physical skill set's there, the speed is there, the power. And I was bringing it all together within the concept from play to play.
Isaac Seumalo, the most established component. And by the way, Isaac started training camp on the non-football injury list. Mike Tomlin referencing a little bit of a soft tissue issue. But this guy, he's another former Super Bowl winner on the roster, and he is the guy that has all the experience up front. You know, he's the been there, done that guy. He is the established leader of that unit, and not necessarily vocally or in a loud, noticeable way, but those guys fall in lockstep behind Isaac Seumalo.
Yeah, when he speaks, they listen. And that's the most important thing with the style that Isaac Seumalo is. He's not a big talker. He's not a big rah-rah guy, but he's a guy that's going to know what everybody needs to do, and then he's also going to put guys in position to be successful. And if he needs to say something, everybody stands at attention and listens to every word.
Center, Zach Frazier. Nothing not to like about what we saw last year, correct?
Morgantown Mauler, as our good friend Craig would say. And he mauled, and he confidence in a lot of guys that he played up against. I know he got injured a little bit in the Vegas game and couldn't go for about 2 weeks, but his presence was felt. He did a tremendous job of really leading the group as a rookie, because at the center position, you are the captain of that offensive line. So putting everybody in position and communicating and, of course, being tough as nails, there's no better guy to have at that center position in year 2.
Yeah, he also mentioned that the mental part maybe was the hardest part of adjusting, transitioning from West Virginia to the NFL. That checks, right?
I mean that's every player that comes to the NFL. You have to get up to the knowledge, speed, but also have confidence in your in being verbal with the rest of the group, whatever position you play. And for Zach, even though there might have been felt moments where he looked nervous, he was shaking in his boots. It's like a duck above water, right? You know, everybody sees the calm water and the duck just floating along, but the feet are paddling 1,000 miles an hour. That's every rookie in the NFL.
Mason McCormick, maybe a little bit quicker than anticipated, thrown into the mix, but I liked it. Pretty much everything I saw out of him, including the day out here last year where Landon Roberts on purpose stirred the pot.
Yeah.
By blasting Justin Fields when you're not supposed to hit the quarterback ever.
Yeah.
Just because he wanted to see how the offense would react, and Mason McCormick reacted.
Oh, Mason McCormick came charging at him like a bull in a china shop. And at that moment, I was talking to E-Rob. We were going to dinner. I said, man, E, what were you? He's like, man, I just want to see how they react. He's like, I promise you I'll never do it again. He's like, because Mason McCormick did not understand. He only understood one assignment, keep my quarterback upright, and he was about to take my head off. And that's the mentality, especially at a right guard position. That's a very physical, run-first side of the ball type of position, and he meets that tenacity. He meets that toughness, and I think it pairs perfect with Zach Frazier.
And Troy Fautanu, the number 1 pick who was blowing everybody away out here last year and early in the season appeared poised to be ready to take over that right tackle spot, and then injury intervened. But I assume he's going to have a really good year.
Yeah, and he's looking healthier, you know, watching everything in the offseason. He's doing all the right things to get himself prepared. He had won that starting job and then ended up getting injured. And there was a little bit of a debacle there in the transition with him and Broderick Jones, the alternating sets and everything. But I think Troy's ready for this opportunity, and now he's had a year under his belt to really watch and learn. So I expect big things from Troy Fautanu now here in year 2 at the right tackle position.
Depth was a perceived strength on the offensive line last year. Will it be again?
I think it is as of right now because I look also behind them, having Calvin Anderson coming back, Ryan McCollum also on there, and, of course, Spencer Anderson. He was our Swiss Army knife on the offensive line, played all 5 positions and was ready and had a hat on game day. So I look at this and I say, as long as we got 8 that I can point to, and then we can see the growth from the rest of the guys and now make it a competition.
We talked a moment ago about McCormick and the way he was willing to jump in and mix things up. DK Metcalf's kind of got a history of that. He's got a history. Yeah. He's got a history with Ramsey in the NFL. We've seen Joey Porter get into it with George Pickens out here. Who are some of the other perceived pot stirrers as you're assessing? Because it's hot out here already. It's going to boil over. There are going to be days where it's not what it needs to be, and somebody's going to feel like they have to turn the temperature up and get the tempo going. Who takes it upon themselves to temporarily forget Mike Tomlin's professional respect practice eating?
So one of the guys that I'm really looking forward to, I think it's actually Jack Sawyer, because I heard some things about him at Ohio State. Like, he's a guy that doesn't back down, that doesn't like to necessarily be in concert the entire time. I heard about some dust-ups they had at camp. So I'm going to be interested to see how soon he inserts himself. Is it linebackers and running backs drill where you start to see the chippiness, or is it going to be in that stalk block and see if Corey Trice is actually going to come up? Because Corey was also another guy, until he was injured, that used to get in people's face as well.
Yeah, I hope he stays out of any of that stuff.
Yeah, well, no, we don't want freak injuries. But if
you don't want anybody to get
a
freak injury, but
exactly.
why risk it? That's going to do it for us today. We are just getting started here. We will be back at it tomorrow, and we'll be back at it. Either myself or Missy Matthews will be here at the desk with Max whenever the Steelers practice. We will be here to talk about it for you. So thanks for finding us. Until tomorrow, for Max Starks, I'm Mike Pursuta. This has been Training Camp Live, brought to you by FedEx. Good afternoon, everyone.